All right. And just like that, we are live one more time. Welcome to COVID Live TV episode number 22, the Double Deuce 22. A couple people to say hello to in the virtual chat here. Mitchell Smolin, hello, he says. Got him in the house. I don't know if he's watching, but on my way out of the store just before the show, I saw Jeff Keith, another friend of mine. I recognized him behind his mask as he was leaving the grocery store. So hello to Jeff and Kathy out there. Who else did I want to say hello to? Oh, of course, before I forget at the end, it's a busy show. Hello to Jim and Kate Phillips and the Phillips family. Hope things are all going well. If anybody hadn't heard, Jim is in hospital fighting the COVID-19, and our thoughts and our prayers are with him for a speedy recovery there. Right. Where are we? Who else joined? Suzanne Smolin, like the shirt. Yeah, that's reminding me for that. Outback Afterbrewers. This is Wednesday. It's usually midweek mountain bike madness day. It rained a lot around here, and here I am doing the show. But Wednesdays are usually my normal mountain biking evening when the weather is good and the ground is dry. And so this is the Outback Afterbrewers. It's a good group of people that get out and mountain bike for a while and then get together and have some food and beverages afterwards, something that is definitely a no-no now. So I'm really looking forward to getting back to that someday soon. All right, without further ado, we're going to bring in our first guest. Our first guest tonight is a pathologist working out of the wonderful state of Michigan, our neighbors to the north and to the east. Let me bring up the audio. Let's give a nice COVID Live TV welcome to Joe Czaja. Hello, Joe. You're on.
Hey, Ron, how are you?
I am doing well. Well, let me confirm that I'm doing well. I usually do this for the safety of all of my guests, a quick temporal scan. 99.1. A little warm. Probably the skin temperature's up. Caught some sun before the rains moved in while I was out cutting the grass today. What have you been up to, Joe?
Oh, you got out, huh?
Yeah, I did.
What have I been up to?
Yeah.
I'm working, work's down quite a bit. I do primarily surgical pathology and cytology, and that work depends on elective surgeries. And the hospitals have basically eliminated elective surgeries. Surgery only if necessary. Mm-hmm. So I get to come home early. The wife loves it. The dogs definitely love it.
All right. What's the hospital you're working at? You said they may want you to mention it. Mention that you're being treated very well.
McLaren Health System in Michigan, and I'm working this week and next week at Bay City Bay Memorial Hospital. I work primarily in the central laboratory for McLaren Health System in Flint. Mm-hmm. And starting April 20th, I'm going to transfer to the flagship hospital in Lansing, Michigan. All right. McLaren Lansing will be working with Michigan State University, hopefully, to provide good medicine for central Michigan.
East Lansing. What is the COVID, if I take the temperature of the state of Michigan, we are here in Indiana, northwest Indiana. We're hearing a lot out of Chicago. We're hearing a lot out of Indianapolis, Marion County, a lot of cases down there. What's the cases, number of cases in Michigan looking like?
No, Michigan is up there, primarily Detroit. Where I am today, Bay City, Michigan, I think there are, how many cases in Bay City, do you remember?
What's that?
COVID cases in Bay City? The wife was telling me earlier it was something between 30 and 60.
Right.
No, I know what it was. 37 cases. 60-some% of those were healthcare workers from the hospital that I work at.
Wow. Yeah, had been hearing that. We talked to a nurse on earlier, and they seem to be doing okay, but that seems to be a serious problem in this country and around the world. And I don't know if that's related to, I don't know what your opinion is, or if you're free to give it, if it's the unavailability of personal protective equipment or just the aggressiveness of this virus or what?
Yeah, it's just the aggressiveness. If you're exposed to it, if you breathe in microparticles in the air with the virus, well, you will get the disease. And the people most likely to be in contact with that virus are those taking care of the patients who have it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And even masks, even the N95 masks don't guarantee 100% protection.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to bring an expert on What is the big difference between that and using just just a piece of fabric that that is being suggested by the CDC when you're out in public to use? What added benefit are you getting with the N95s?
You're just getting added filtration. I'm trying to think what the size of the particle. It's just very small.
Mm-hmm.
The fabric you get at Joann Fabrics is, if you look under the microscope, it's going to be full of holes. So it will stop a lot of the spray if somebody coughs at you, but little tiny particles will get through.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So basically.
We were talking earlier, I was really interested in having somebody on to talk a little bit about testing, not slamming the desk and demanding that more tests be done or where are the test supplies, but the mechanics of the test. And you talked a little bit about some of the new test that was being used or planned to be used coming up, or what was the story there?
Used.
Okay.
It's called polymerase chain reaction.
Mm-hmm.
The virus is an RNA virus. And what that means, basically all viruses are kind of not really living things. They depend on animals or plants to actually reproduce. Think of a virus as part of the cellular machinery gone haywire. Either your DNA or your RNA is where your DNA is where all of your information in your cell is stored.
Mm-hmm.
RNA is a molecule that transfers that information from the DNA to the cellular machinery. So what happens is, sometime over the course of evolution, pieces of these DNA or RNA float off and become surrounded by part of the cellular machinery, and they're able to go free from the animal cell or the plant cell, float around and find another animal or plant, and then incorporate into their cellular machinery. So that's what a virus is, basically.
Mm-hmm.
We're still trying to determine if viruses are living things or not.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. What's your opinion?
No, I mean, they cannot live free. I think it's just, like I said before, part of the cellular machinery gone haywire.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Over the course of millions of years of evolution.
Now, the COVID, specifically the virus, the COVID-19 is the disease that people are suffering from after being exposed to there's a larger name for the specific coronavirus, right?
Yeah.
I don't have it off the tip of my tongue. We know. But
it's a coronavirus 2019. It's related to the SARS virus. So it's like SARS-2 2019, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And, they think it originated in an animal in Wuhan, China. It was transferred in one of the wet markets and probably just started out with one infected person who started coughing on other people. Mm-hmm. And the virus is an RNA virus. Herpes virus that a lot of people are familiar with is a DNA virus. It comes from the DNA, the cellular machinery of a cell long ago. RNA virus comes from the part of from the messenger mm-hmm. molecule in the cell. Mm-hmm. Floated off in a cell and became a virus many years ago. So this is an RNA virus. And coronavirus got the name because if you look under these viruses in an electron microscope, they appear to have a corona surrounding them. And that's just the wall of the virus, and it contains the particles that allow it to stick to human cells or animal cells.
Mm-hmm. Is that what makes it particularly aggressive once it's gotten inside of lungs? Because it has all those, I don't want to call them tentacles, but little stems or hands.
You could think of them as tentacles. They're basically molecules of something that have affinity for receptors in our cells. And in humans, I believe it's the angiotensin converting enzyme 2, which is a fancy word for one of the receptors in a lung cell. Mm-hmm. And so the virus gets into your lungs. It starts out in your nasal cavity in your throat, gives you that sore throat, and the cough then gets down into the lungs and attacks type 2 pneumocytes. If you're interested, I could tell you all about the pathology of those, but your lung lining has two types of cells. Type 1 pneumocytes allows you to absorb oxygen. Type 2 pneumocytes expels surfactant and fluids. So these viruses attack type 2 pneumocytes. They get in through this receptor, and then they scramble the machinery of the cell, and the cell eventually dies. When the cell dies, then you have an inflammatory reaction. And
So
that's what really
the two receptors, just to be clear, the two types of receptors in the lungs, you said? One is involved in the transfer of oxygen, and the other is involved in just maintaining the healthy interior of the lungs, basically?
no, those are the two types of cells.
Cells.
That you have little tiny sacs in your lung, millions of them, and they're lined by these two types of cells, pneumocytes.
Oh, pneumocytes.
Type 1 pneumocyte absorbs oxygen. Type 2 basically makes the fluid.
So it's interesting that it doesn't attack the one with related to oxygen. It's the one that is creating fluids or keeping the lung tissue healthy, correct?
Yes. Surfactant basically allows the little sacs in your lung to stay open. It's like like soap on top of a swimming pool or on water. It spreads out and keeps your lungs open. And that's what those cells create, I believe.
So you said that I interrupted you there, but you said that then the virus gets into those cells and disrupts their normal action or their normal cell division or the reproduction. How does that specifically happen?
Well, and I'm not knowing the exact mechanism. I mean, I'm going way back to medical school for a lot of this stuff. The virus will get in to the cell, incorporate itself into the either the DNA of the cell or the cellular machinery, start to reproduce itself. And once the cell is full of new viruses, it just dies, releases the virus into your lungs, you cough it out, and that cell dies. And the death of that cell causes an inflammatory reaction, and that's what makes you sick, the inflammatory reaction.
So what's the relative size of the virus compared to these the pneumocyte, one of these lung cells? What's the relative size?
Tiny, very tiny. I can't even... perhaps the size of a pinhead against a balloon, something like that.
So it takes quite a few virus cells to destroy a good cell.
Well, in theory, it could just take one virus cell.
Oh.
The virus cell gets into the cell and starts reproducing itself, maybe making millions of new copies just in that one cell. Its cell dies, the viruses go into your lung, and you cough them out all over your neighbors.
So, but there viruses getting into cells, they're not hijacking those cells and creating bad versions of them. They're using them as a host to make multiple copies of themselves, sacrificing the cell that they landed on or invaded or whatever, right?
Well, now you're getting into carcinogenesis. There are some viruses that can get into a cell and make the cell reproduce bad versions of itself. Like the papillomavirus and cervical cancer. And probably a lot of cancers started off as viruses, and a lot of lymphomas are associated with viruses. But viruses can do that. They can cause cancer.
I had heard that.
This one doesn't, as far as I know.
I had heard. So,
just makes you sick.
Yeah, we talked about the testing that's been going on. We got a little off of that, but we talked a little bit about how the virus sets up in you and how it damages the body. But the current testing that's going on, you seem to have some good insights in. But tell me a little more about that.
Well, I work in the central laboratory for the McLaren system, and the laboratory covers or provides basic laboratory tests for 10 or 15 hospitals. I don't know exactly how many. So it's a pretty big lab. And I was going into an old office in the laboratory that has been empty for a while just to get a book that I had in there. And today there appeared about 100 boxes of COVID-19 rapid tests. And let me see if that picture shows up again.
Yeah, if you had sent it to me earlier, I would have been able to put it up. Yeah, it was a bunch of boxes of... Yeah, I can get an idea what's there. Can't read the print that's on it, but it's obviously boxes. COVID-19. What did it say on those?
Yeah, ID now. COVID.
There you
it's
go.
Not working too well.
We get the idea.
Yeah.
Big
so these
stack.
we were receiving a lot of these tests, and I don't know exactly where they're going. I assume they're going to the hospitals and maybe to drive-through services. But these are the PCR tests, or polymerase chain reaction. They're considered a rapid test, although they're based on a very complicated theory, and it does take a few hours to run the test, but it's pretty rapid in that you can get it done within the day.
Right. I mean, I was joking earlier, not joking because I'm an idiot, but that somebody would actually swab some of whatever comes off of someone's nose onto a slide, and then they look at it under a microscope. You were telling me that that is
Well, we do
absolutely.
that. We do that in some cases, especially when we're looking for cancer.
Hmm.
They'll swab your nose, look under the microscope to look for specific cells to tell if you have allergies or seasonal allergies. That's a quick test.
Hmm.
But in this case, no. They swab your nose, and then they take whatever mucus is there. And this is a little bit outside of my subspecialty, but basically what they do is mix it up with some DNA, which is specific to a segment of the RNA of this virus.
Hmm.
So, in theory, this RNA segment is unique to this virus, not any other virus in the world. So, this DNA that they manufactured will attach to that segment of RNA, and once it does, they can basically amplify that segment with multiple copies of DNA, and they can detect when that segment is being amplified, and that's how they know the virus is there. And it's very, very sensitive. If it's amplified, the virus is there. If not, it's not there. And in theory, you can just, the test will be positive if just a few viruses are in the sample, in theory.
We talked about on I don't know, thousands or millions of us in a sequence of pairs in a sequence. You're looking for a short, very short and unique segment of that RNA, right?
As short as they can to make it unique.
Right.
The longer it is, the more complicated it is to produce this DNA. But once they find a segment that's 10, 15 base pairs long, and they know it's unique to that virus, they can manufacture the DNA.
Right.
So that's the rapid test. And then
well, hopefully everybody was paying attention in their high school biology class with the RNA, the DNA, the pairs, the base pairs, and all that.
But bottom line, there's nothing to see under the microscope with that. The machine test can detect when it's being amplified.
Joe, I need to take a second to say hello to some people. Maximilian Kolb. Hey, Ron, great show. Jessica Roberts is on board again. Martha Czaja, recognize that name? Cookie Czaja?
Oh, yeah.
She says, hi, Joe. Cookie's here.
Cookie.
Aunt Cookie. So one other thing about the testing, you mentioned that there's a certain amount of time that it can be, that it's typically living in the nose before it ends up down into the lungs. Can you elaborate on that?
I think it's up to 4 days. It's a lot like when you get a cold that moves down into your lungs. You get that sore throat, you get the runny nose for a few days, and then you get that nasty cough. So the virus will start out in the cells of your throat and your sinuses, but then it moves down into the lungs. And a lot of times when it moves down into the lungs, they cannot detect it with the swab. But by the time it gets in your lungs, you might be either getting better, a lot of people, or you're in the hospital in the ICU, and they could actually suck fluid out of your lungs and test that for the virus.
So that's on the infection side, the viral infection side. But how about on the people that may have had it? I heard a lot of people talking about, I may have had it. Somebody said they had it 2 years ago. The virus wasn't even in the human population yet. But how can we tell if somebody might have had it? You mentioned a test that was being done looking for specific antibodies.
Yeah, this is when we get into serology, which is the study of immune responses and antibodies. And for almost all viral diseases, the body with a normal immune system will create antibodies. First, the so-called IgM, which is a very large antibody, which is called the acute reactant. It'll appear within a couple days of the infection, and then slowly you'll build up the long-term resistance antibody, which is IgG, a much smaller antibody, but it confers, once you have that, in most viruses, it confers resistance. We don't know if people who've had this virus yet are resistant to future infections, but probably will be.
Yeah.
And that's once enough people get resistant, have had the disease, that's what we call herd immunity. So there's enough resistant people that the virus won't be passed around enough, and that's one of the reasons to keep our distance, stay inside, and try to. Well, the reason we want to flatten the curve, as they say, is so we don't overwhelm the medical system. So we have enough beds to treat the people that we need to.
Yeah.
It might cause the infection to kind of drag out longer, but we won't have so many people sick at once, And then eventually we'll have either herd immunity and enough people will be resistant, or we'll have a vaccine and we could all not worry so much about this virus anymore.
Yeah, I don't even want to get into that yet. Maybe if you know anything about that, we'll have you back on.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
All right. All right. Joe, I said we'd have you on for, well, I didn't want to squeeze in a second guest. I do have one person to close up the show, but I didn't want to squeeze in the show. I wanted to give you more than half the show because I knew it was going to be interesting. I had a lot of questions. I know a lot of people did, and hopefully we addressed them and answered them in a clear and concise way. Some people may have to reach back for their high school biology books for the recombinant DNA brush up, right?
I know I do.
You might, yeah. You and me both. No, but I appreciate you explaining that. I don't want to say layman's terms, but explaining that in with precision and clarity. I appreciate it. That's what the whole point of the show was trying to get good information out there in an entertaining way, right? Hopefully. In an entertaining way to let people know what's going on. Anybody that you want to say hello to while I have you on?
No, just hello to the Czaja family, and want to put a plug in to brother, what is it, Eyeglass Designs? Is that the name of the store?
Eye Designs.
Eye Designs, that's it. And
Right.
yeah, that's my brother John Czaja, and Ramona, if she's watching. And also want to make a plug for Highland Park 12-year whiskey.
12-year single batch.
For when you have to stay indoors a lot.
I don't know the first thing about it. Maybe we'll have to do like a Zoom bourbon thing where you and your brother and Greggy
who knows
will be
a lot
on.
about it is Greg.
Yeah, Greggy. Yep.
Greg knows a lot about it.
All right. Joe, I really appreciate you being on. You've earned the full 4-pack of 2-ply toilet paper. Just stay on the line so we know where to ship that to.
We can use it.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. All right. If there's nobody you want a book or something that you want to plug, anything?
Not yet.
Okay. Any interesting programs that you watch that you want to let people know how you spend the time? That one Tiger Show, whatever the hell it is?
Oh, yeah. We watched Tiger King. Oh, my God. Jaw on the floor.
All right. Don't wreck it.
But,
I just might if this drags on.
I kind of want to live like him. Doc Ansel, that guy?
Haven't watched any of it. Don't wreck it for me.
Oh, sorry. Highly recommend it, though.
All right. Thank you, Joe. Really appreciate it.
Take care, Ron. Thank you.
All right. Joe Czaja, guest out. Thank you for joining us. All right, I'm going to roll the logo up. I've got one quick guest here after Joe. That's Dr. Joe Czaja checking in, our resident pathologist, hopefully giving a little bit of a better explanation of the testing and some of the disease pathology related to COVID-19. Stand by. I'm going to roll the logo up. We've got one more quick guest after this. Thank you. All right, and we are back. Got my second guest in the virtual green room. My second guest is works at the church that I go to, St. Michael's Church, the place where my kids go to school in Cherryville, Indiana. Let me just turn up the audio and bring in Deacon Ron Pyle. There you go. Hello, Deacon Ron. How you doing today?
Good. How are you doing, Ron?
I'm hanging in there. We had an interesting guest on. I don't know if you were able to see or could watch later.
I caught most of it.
Yeah,
it was very interesting.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that I was hoping to present. All right, so the reason that I brought you on, Deacon Ron, is that tomorrow there is a food drive going on. It's got to operate under the circumstances of the time. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you're doing with the food drive at St. Michael's in Cherryville tomorrow?
Yeah, so at St. Michael's, we have a very important ministry. It's called the Good Samaritans, and they run basically a food pantry out of our church there in Cherryville. And they serve, most of the communities around this area. And they provide food and other services for people less fortunate that don't have means of getting their own food or gasoline or housing, and they help with some electricity. So they normally depend upon a big drive we always have at Holy Thursday, our Holy Thursday Mass, which is scheduled for tomorrow night. Mm-hmm. And during that time, rather than people donating money at the collection time, they donate food. And we have hundreds of people come with bags and bags of groceries. Obviously, this year we can't do that in person, and which is a shame. And so our Good Samaritans ministry is really hurting for food at a time when they are very much in demand, because mm-hmm. they're going to anticipate that demand to increase as more and more people lose their jobs. So they're really hurting. So we come up with this idea now in this times that we're in, is to do something a little more exciting, a little different, and also safe for the people. So tomorrow from noon to 6 p.m., we're going to do a food drive at St. Michael's in the north end of the parking lot. We're gonna have people there, and people can just drive by and stay in the safety of their cars, and just hand us food, any type of food, non-perishable items, things like canned vegetables, pasta, mashed potatoes, all those type of things, as well as personal items like toilet paper, the ever popular toilet paper these days, mm-hmm. but also deodorant, shampoo, toothpaste, toothbrushes, soap, detergent, things like that you need around your house. Mm-hmm. Accepting all those things. And of course, if people aren't comfortable these days with shopping in a grocery store, they'll gladly accept cash or checks written out to the Good Samaritans, because they can always provide gift cards and things like that to the people they need.
Right.
So we're doing that tomorrow. We're going to be there from, again, like I said, from noon till 6 p.m. in the north side of the parking lot at St. Michael's, right next to the parish office on Wilhelm Street. So just drive on up, and we'll say hi to you and gladly take your groceries.
Right. Any idea how many people you're expecting are going to roll through? 10,000, 20,000? You have numbers?
Boy, we can only hope. I think that so far, just promoting it on Facebook and promoting it. I did a video yesterday for our website. There've been a lot of shares and likes and et cetera, and a lot of people saying, yeah, we'll be there. We'll be there.
Okay.
Our school principal, as well as our pastor, are going to be out there as well, promoting, getting all the school kids and school families to participate in this. And to come on by and say hello to Mrs. Kennedy. Mm-hmm. And Father Marty Dobrinsky will be out there. So people can come by and say hello to him and wish everybody a happy Easter and blessed holiday season here.
From a safe distance. Well,
from a safe distance,
yeah,
exactly.
I'm glad that you were able to come on. I kind of hatched the idea this morning. I thought I got to help out any way that I can. So if we don't see you driving by, maybe I'll set my wife over. We do not have a lot of hoarded toilet paper here. So if anybody out there, though, was somebody who overbought, let's just say overbought, maybe they could share some of their surplus with some of the extra that they have. Yeah, happy to be a part of helping to promote this event. Again, that's tomorrow from noon until 6. And the church parking lot, that's in Cherville on Wilhelm Street, near the, just off of 30, between Wilhelm and Route 30, near the Cherville Police Station Town Hall, if you're looking for it.
Yes.
You can find it. Everybody's got Google Maps. All right, Deacon Ron, I really appreciate you coming on and giving people some information about that. Good luck tomorrow if I don't see you.
Thank you, Ron. Thanks for having me on.
Take care. Be safe.
All right. Bye.
All right. That was Deacon Ron Pyle from St. Michael's Church. And with that, we're wrapping up our episode number 22. Hopefully you are leaving smarter, better educated, hopefully lowered your anxiety. Maybe we've increased it. I hope that didn't backfire on me, but I find that with knowledge comes a little bit of peace, that you have some understanding, at least some feeling of knowing what you're up against with this whole COVID-19. All right, we plan to be back tomorrow. Today is Wednesday, hump day. Plan to be back tomorrow for episode 23 on, let's see, April 9th. We do have, I mentioned it in yesterday's episode, we do have an email inbox, COVID Live TV, no punctuation, COVID Live TV at gmail.com. If you want to send some pictures or video or funny stories or something that you want to share, we'll screen that. And then maybe have an opportunity to share that. If we get any time, we could piece some of that together and do it while we're dialing up our second guest of the night. Hope you enjoyed the show. Marty Lucas, better late than never. Hi, everybody. Chandra Smolin, to give a little bit of a sneak preview. Chandra is going to be on with us tomorrow. I hope she still is. As of this afternoon, she was. Look forward to talking to her and another good friend. Well, she's my sister-in-law, but a friend of mine that I've known for a long time who also has an interesting perspective as well. Okay, thank you for joining us. I'm going to try to pull off the music to close on, if I can get my passcode correct. With that, let's see. Yeah, here we go. All right. Take care, everybody. Be safe. We'll see you tomorrow for episode 23 of COVID Live TV.